Hey, my name is Kato. Welcome back to the Crucible Show, and today we're going to be talking about someone. Welcome back to Crucible News. Today's story is this. Soccer bopper, soccer bopper. Yamishibai no jikan da yo. Welcome back to the Crucible Show. My name is Kato, and I thought I would change the channel for this video. So it's starting to get more into winter, almost into December, and it's getting to that part of the year where the days are shorter, the nights are longer, and things just inherently get more creepy. Halloween just passed, and this is around that time of the year where spooky stuff is on TV a lot. And I remember as a kid, I watched a lot of scary reality TV, kind of like Ghost Hunters type stuff. Especially the Scariest Places on Earth. That used to be one of my favorite shows.
This anonymous videotape was discovered deep in the catacombs beneath the streets of Paris.
My whole family would gather around the TV and we would watch families go through these haunted mansions and castles, and it was really spooky stuff. So I happened to be on Crunchyroll, and I found this Japanese horror anime, and it seemed like it could be pretty good, so I thought maybe I'd watch a couple videos and see how I liked it. I ended up actually liking it a lot, and it gave me a really Twilight Zone type feel, because they don't really always explain what's happening in the story, and sometimes you just gotta figure out your own ending. And I thought that was pretty cool. They're all about 3 to 5 minutes long, and so you can crank them out a lot. It's about 17 episodes per season, maybe 14 episodes per season, and there's about 7 seasons currently up. So I thought I would go through a few of them and explain kind of what's happening in them. So let's get into it. Yamishibai's intro is pretty creepy. The music, the tone gives you an eerie feeling when you're watching it. It's just kind of like you're seeing something that you shouldn't be watching. And I just kind of like that vibe it gives off. And it has like an old style of storytelling, and the animation is very similar to maybe like a South Park, where it kind of looks like cardboard characters moving on a screen. And I think it's really cool. So we got our guy here, our main protagonist in the first story, and he's moving into a new apartment building. He gets all of his boxes into the room, and he's resting after moving everything, and he lays back, and on the ceiling he sees a seal. So my first thought was it looked like a seal from Naruto that explodes. He's like, oh, what is that? So, he goes up and rips it down. And then he notices that across the street, some strange woman is like watching him. And so he closes the blinds and he's creeped out, and as anybody would be. So the next day, she's still watching him. He's just freaking out. He's just real nervous. And while he's taking out his trash, he notices her watching him. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to make a run for it. He gets the hell out of there. So later on that day, he's talking to a guy he works with, and he's, like talking to him and telling him what he's been going through. And the guy's just kind of like, I don't care, man. Like, I'm not interested. But the guy's like really aloof, but I don't know if that was a cultural thing or if that was just part of that guy's character. But our main character, he's pretty scared, and you could tell how scared he is by him like kind of basically begging this guy to come to his house and hang out with him for a bit. And the guy eventually said like, nah man, I can't do it. Just don't be late to work tomorrow. So our guy goes home, gets to his front door, and the door is unlocked. So immediately, if you ever got home and your front door was already unlocked and slightly ajar, what would be the first thing you do? A, enter the house as normal. B, enter the house as normal and pretend that it didn't happen. C, run away. Just absolutely run away. Or D, call the cops and wait outside. If you answered A or B, you are a psychopath, and I do not trust people like you.
You are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
There's no way I would go into my house if the door was unlocked, and I know I'm the only one that lives there. I do not ever leave my door unlocked. But for some reason, our character, he's like, hey, oops, that's weird, but maybe I forgot to lock it. So he gets in his house, he lays down like usual, and on the ceiling, what does he see? a talisman again. Same spot on the ceiling. He's like, whoa. All right, well, that creepy woman isn't watching me. Let me reach up and go get it. And she jumps out. So scares the hell out of you watching this. She just jumps out of nowhere, and she looks like a creepy, like, alien version of Orochimaru from Naruto. She's super creepy looking, greenish skin, and she basically jumps out, and we don't see what happens after that, because immediately after, we see that she is in the back of a police car. So he called the police, and they got there and arrested her. So it's not really explained what they did in the meantime, if he just like ran out of the house or whatever, but she got arrested. But the thing I noticed was that when she jumps out, she's got her hands in like a defensive, like, stop what you're doing thing, and not really in an aggressive stance, which had me thinking maybe she's trying to protect him. In the back of the police car, her mouth is kind of moving, but you can't discern what she's saying. He goes back into his apartment, and she went into his apartment with her shoes on, which, if you didn't know, culturally in Japan, if you go into someone's house, you take your shoes off at the door. You don't walk through someone's house with your shoes on. So as he's cleaning his floor, a talisman falls to the floor. And it didn't come from the ceiling this time. He flips over the table, finds out there's dozens and dozens of explosive tags, and all of a sudden the apartment blows up. He dies. And that's how the episode... I'm kidding. He flips over the table, and it's just dozens of tags, same as the one that was on the ceiling. And immediately he just begins ripping them off, which is the dumbest thing I could think to do. People, if you're out there listening to me right now, be aware that I am not a chicken. I consider myself a brave person. But there's a difference between bravery and stupidity. Bravery is saving someone, or being brave and like being afraid and doing something anyway. Stupidity is charging into 100 people with machine guns and you are carrying a katana. There's a difference. So when this guy goes and rips up all the tags, I'm thinking this guy is an idiot. By now I'm convinced that those tags were to save him. So he rips all the tags out, and he's exhausted, and he starts to hear something. He looks up, and there's these spirits everywhere. And the episode ends. We never find out what happens to him. He's just claiming, he's saying, I'm imagining things, it's not happening, I don't see anything. It's not true, man. They're there, and you just got. Because you broke every rule of not dying in a horror movie ever. He just ignored all the warnings. Don't be like this guy. Live. Don't be stupid. So our next story takes place in the countryside of Japan. And we find our guy starting his story in a hospital. And he wakes up in the hospital bed, and he's not really sure where he is. His leg is in a cast. He's got a bruise on his face, or a mark on his face with a bandage. And in the hospital room, there's these three guys hunched in a huddle. And they're kind of creepy looking at him and huddled up. And he's like, those guys are kind of weird, right? And he's just kind of nervous about it because he just woke up in a hospital bed. And the doctor comes in. He asks, hey, what happened to me? The doctor is telling them, like, basically, man, you were walking on a trail and they found you. Looks like you fell off the trail. You broke your ankle. So you're going to stay here for the night. And while all this is happening, these guys are just like staring him down. And he doesn't understand why. And he never asks the doctor, like, hey, those three guys over there, you see them too, right? It's not just me. You see them, right? Never asked that. He just lets it go. So that night, everybody's asleep in this hospital. He's in too much pain to sleep. His ankle's broken, and he hears this muttering. He's like, where's this muttering come from? It's the guys. He like feels them. He feels them looking at him, and he just like hears them mumbling, and they're mumbling stuff like, "We can't let him escape. We can't let him go. He must not escape." And so he sits up, and they're all out standing outside of his curtains, just wide awake in the middle of the night, and he's freaked out. He lays there all night until the next day. That was his plan. He lay there all night. So the next morning, somehow he survives the night. He gets out and he's on a crutch and he's outside the hospital. And he's like, oh man, those dudes are creepy, but he sees them on the rooftop and they're giving him this send off. And he's like, oh, are they celebrating my release from the hospital? And he's like, maybe they weren't that bad of guys, you know? Maybe I was just overreacting. Maybe they were actually really shy and just really nice guys, you know? So he gets a cab, and the cab driver's like, hey, they're chopping it up, you know, trying to get his 5 stars. And he's like, yeah, man, like, I just got released today. The guys even did the bonsai cheer for me, which is like a cheer that means like 100 years good luck or 100 years of life. And he's like, yeah, I think they went a little bit overboard, but it seemed to me like they were doing it backwards. So the driver looks out the rearview mirror and he sees the guys up there, and he notices like they're not giving him the bonsai cheer. They're actually giving him the zanbai cheer, which the zanbai cheer is a curse on that person. So he stops the car. He's like, bro, get out of my car. You gotta go. Get out of here. I don't care. Give me 1 star. You're gonna be dead anyway. You gotta go. He's like, you're not gonna leave this village alive. And you see this light come. Truck right behind him plows into the car. Presumably both of them die. So these guys, as this happens, they're still on the rooftop doing the zanbai cheer, cursing this guy. And we never find out, are they spirits? Are they just guys who didn't like this dude? Did he do something that we don't know about? We never find out. I don't think these 3 guys were ever really there. I think they were spirits. I think this guy, this businessman who was hiking out there, maybe he was doing something out there that he wasn't supposed to be doing. I don't know much about the Japanese culture, but looking up zanbai means curse, and maybe they know something that we don't know. Maybe this dude, like this businessman randomly out in the countryside, maybe he killed someone. Maybe he went out and killed him, buried their body on the mountain, and as he was coming down, he fell and broke his ankle. So that was our second story. Our third story is about a kid named Tashaharu, who he's out in the countryside visiting his grandfather's house with his parents. And so his grandfather is telling his father, who is new to the family, which I don't really understand because the kid is obviously like 6. But the father, since he's new to the family, the grandfather lets him in on a secret. And it's that on the same day, every year, the family has to come together and basically laugh throughout the entire night. And I don't mean like, haha, haha. No, they have to like laugh and seem like they're having the best time of their life the same night every year, because the grandfather says there's some kind of a being that will come and possess one of them if they don't do this. And so he's telling them like, hey, this is super serious, like you have to do it. He says like this demon thing craves human fear, it craves hatred, it craves sadness. He's seen it before. And so he's like, that's our plan. We're gonna laugh all night, and that's the way we're gonna do it. But while they're all talking about this, Toshiharu, being a nosy little kid, he's peeking in the door, and all of a sudden they open it, and his father is trying to explain to him like, hey buddy, tonight you have to like sleep by yourself. We're all gonna stay up in grandpa's room, and you have to sleep by yourself. Okay, can you do that? And he's like, hey, it's super serious. I'm not joking with you. So Tashaharu's kind of like, but dad, why? You being a nosy, annoying little kid, you know? What? Why, dad? Why? Why do I gotta sleep by myself? Where's she been? Dad's like, hey, you gonna listen to me? You heard what I said. You gotta do. You gonna do it. I'm sorry, but that's the way it's gonna be. I need you to do this. So that night, Toshiharu's knocked out in his bed. You know, he wakes up. He's like, man, I gotta pee. So he's being a real normal kid. He just did not do what he was supposed to do. So not only did he just not go to the bathroom and go right to bed, he went to go peek on what his parents were doing. And so from down the hallway, we can hear like them just laughing, ha 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 ha, creepy, loud laughing. And he's got to be nosy. He goes in up to the door, and the laughs are louder, and it sounds like they're having a ball, like the best time of their life. And of course, Tashaharu, being the kid he was earlier, he's got to peek through the door. And he sees his parents and everyone in there laughing, and they have their faces painted. And it's almost like they're in a trance. But as he sits there peeking, his father's face pops up, scares the shit out of me, for starters. Like, look at that. Who wouldn't be scared of that? Who? That is terrifying. And not to mention, like, he don't have pupils. He don't have nothing. Even if you got face paint on, that don't get rid of your actual eyes. Well, anyway, scares the shit out of Tashaharu as well, and he falls to his butt. So all the family, they're just quiet, like staring at him like this. They don't say anything. They're not like, go back to bed, which, you know, any parent would have been like, hey, go back to bed, we're doing something, go. They just kind of sit there like staring at him, and he is creeped out. But then behind him, a candle goes out, and the door opens behind him out of nowhere, and his grandfather's looking outside. They're still quiet, just staring at Tashaharu until his, you know, dad starts to look nervous, and he points behind them, and Tashaharu looks back, and they all start to freak out, and there's a creature we see getting closer and closer from the woods to the house. And they start laughing again, but it's too late. Thing gets Tashaharu. So I think the moral of this story was that kids don't listen to anything. If you knew this was a must-do, you need to lock this kid in the room. Get him a bucket. 2 buckets. 1 for poop, 1 for pee. Maybe 3 buckets, 1 for water. Make sure you keep that away from the pee bucket so he doesn't drink the wrong one. If it's this important, you got to make sure this kid stays where he's supposed to be, because he just ruined the entire thing, got himself killed or possessed or whatever, and he's the reason why it didn't work. You can't expect a little kid who's scared and by himself to follow rules. Like, they just don't. That's not what kids do. That's the last story I have for you guys. If you like this, leave a like, comment down below. If you have any ideas of something you wanted me to look at, feel free to tell me that as well. I mean, I'm not expecting much of a response because, you know, I ain't got subscribers like that. I'm a young channel. I'm doing my thing, just trying to make some fun content. I'm not doing this for the money. I'm doing it because I enjoy making videos, and I've enjoyed trying to animate my own character. I'm always kind of rough around the edges. I'm trying to get together. You know, look at me, you know, I'm trying to get there. Thank you guys for tuning into another episode of The Crucible Show on a different channel this time. In the future, just remember, whenever you're faced with a scary situation, just think, what would an idiot in Yamishibai do? Don't do that thing. It might just save your life. Peace.